For the early parts of my childhood, I don't really have many memories of my parents. They both came from really large families, and so they had to support the family financially and to help out their younger siblings. They both also focused on the family business, which was different for both of them. But around the time when I was 3 and my brother was 7, I started having dinner with them a couple times a week. So most of my early childhood, my parents were working, and we had a plethora of babysitters. And most of the time, my brother and I would kind of just have our way, and we would watch anime all day. It was great. No schedule, no discipline needed, and very few rules. This way, both my parents could put in the number of hours they wanted to for their careers, and my brother and I could do pretty much what we wanted to most of the time. For me, my schedule mostly consisted of screen time. The order in which I used screens might have changed, but it still consisted of things that I'd wanted to do, and it also composed of a lot of eating. When I first entered elementary school, it was the first time I was exposed to a schedule that I couldn't control, and I couldn't control what I was doing for the allotted times. I know, right? It sounds so bad, but for little baby Jason, that was the worst thing that had ever happened. I would head over in the morning, and for that time I had to focus on things that I wasn't necessarily interested in. And I wasn't exactly happy with how I was being taught either. I wasn't a sit still and learn type of student, and I'm still not. Due to this world-changing alteration to my schedule, I had to change how I spent my afternoons, because most of the morning and little bits of the afternoon were taken up by this horrible demon. I still used a lot of screens, and I still liked to watch cartoons and anime. After elementary school came middle school. Big surprise. And although it might not have taken that much more time out of the day entirely, middle school just honestly sounded like more school. Not only was there more school, but there were more things to learn. There were more subjects, and there was more time that I had to spend sitting in a chair trying not to fidget. And the subjects that I learned about previously also just got harder. Not only did the amount of time I spent away from my sanctuary full of screens increase by about an hour, but the amount of homework I had to do also increased, taking away from the amount of time I could spend on what I really wanted to be doing, watching cartoons and anime. However, for the first time in middle school, I discovered something else that could take up my time and I didn't hate: track and field. But most schools had an oval track, unlike my school, which had this weird square thing. So it was always a great experience going to another school and running on an oval track, or maybe even a rubber track if you were rich and used to be a high school. In 6th grade, I did the 100-meter dash, and I did the 4x1 relay. And the 4x1 relay was the first time I really experienced a team-like feeling from sports. In 8th grade PE class, we had a track and field unit, and that was the first time I started experimenting with other individual events than my 100-meter dash. I found that I really enjoyed high jump, and to motivate myself, I would imagine Goku flying over, and that I would follow him soon after. By the time high school came around, I was ready. I knew that school was going to be harder, I knew that there was going to be more homework, and I knew that I was going to have more responsibilities. Even though I was ready, I wasn't quite happy about the changes. Now that I was spending more time at school with the addition of clubs and more time on homework, I also had this other thing for independent study on my harder classes, and that left very little time for Goku. But just like when when high school started, I discovered a sport that was something I could enjoy and also wasn't a part of my sanctuary of antisocial screen time. And yet again, I could imagine myself as Goku. With this new sport also came new teammates, but unlike my 4x1 relay race, I had 13 other teammates. Volleyball is the only sport that requires 6 people to squeeze in such a small area and to communicate so much. And so when I realized that not all of my teammates were there for the love of the sport and maybe there for just PE credits, I was not a happy panda. Regrettably, sometimes my frustration with people of low motivation would spill over onto people that just simply weren't very athletic. But as I grew closer with my teammates and they got to know me better as well, we started to understand each other, and my criticism and their criticism of me became more and more valuable. Therefore, by striving to better understand my peers, I was able to attain much higher levels of success.